It is a tough hill to climb for the Northeast Generals as we welcome you inside the headquarters, another playoff edition of the official podcast of the Northeast Generals, The Debrief. My name's Rory McGoran, and yes, a tough situation for the Northeast Generals now in the Eastern Division semifinals as they have their backs up against the wall for the second time now in the postseason, but this time against the Rochester Jr Americans and needing to reverse sweep the rest of the semifinal series, winning 3 games in a row after, of course, dropping the first 2 games this weekend. We got a great show, though, for you, as always. We will recap, show the highlights of the 2 losses in Rochester against the Junior Americans on Friday and Saturday. We'll be joined by rookie sensation Braydon Hudtloff. We'll be on the show again discussing those games, talking about the incredible season he has had. And then, we will key up the Canton Ice House tomorrow night, Game 3. Generals have to win, do or die, or else their season's over, and they're going to have to do that for the next 3 games here in the best-of-5 series. But at first, as always, let's take a look at the scores from the weekend. Friday night inside the North American Hockey League, of course, not just the East Division here. We will roll through all of the playoff semifinal matchups. Generals, close game. We'll talk about it a little bit more after, but it was a 4-3 overtime loss to the Rochester Jr Americans on Friday night. And the Maryland Black Bears, the number 1 seed in the league, take care of business against the 6th seed Danbury Hat-Tricks, defeating them 6-2 in Game 1. This is Game 1 for all of the 8 playoff series remaining here in the North American Hockey League. The Austin Bruins get the upper hand over Watertown 3-2. It is a lower seed upset. Aberdeen, a shutout 3-0 over Bismarck. Same with Anchorage, lower seed against the number 1 Minnesota Wilderness. Anchorage, the head start in the best-of-5 series, a 3-2 victory. The El Paso Rhinos, another underdog seed against New Mexico, picking up a victory. Lone Star, they're the favorite, 4-1 over Shreveport. And Wisconsin, lower seed underdog, a 3-0 victory over Fairbanks. So Wisconsin, El Paso, Anchorage, and Aberdeen all picking up underdog victories, while the favorites, or I should say the higher seeds, Rochester, Maryland, Austin, and Lone Star victorious. A 50-50 split on Friday. Let's take a look at what Saturday brought to the tables. Maryland continued their dominance. 6-1 victory this time, outscoring the Danbury Hat-Tricks 12-3 over the weekend. The Generals fell flat on Saturday into a 2-0 hole now against Rochester after a 3-0 shutout victory by the Junior Americans. Austin goes up 2-0, 4-3. Minnesota bounces back. They pick up a shutout win. Bismarck bounces back with a 3-2 victory. El Paso has control now of this series, back-to-back over New Mexico for the lower seed Rhinos. Lone Star 5-1. Wisconsin 1-0. And then, of course, 2 games did play on Sunday. Fairbanks kept their season alive with a 3-0 victory over the Wendigo. And Minnesota, now back-to-back shutouts, 5-0 on Saturday, 4-0 on Sunday. And the Wilderness with a 2-1 series lead through 3 games. So a couple of these series have played 3. The most of them have played 2. Just to get a better picture on the brackets and the standings, let's take a look at that now before we break down the Generals game. This is the Midwest Division and the South Division. The South Division, we mentioned Lone Star is the 1 seed against the 5 seed Shreveport Mudbugs. It is a 2-0 series lead and 1 win away from Lone Star advancing to the South Finals. On the opposite end of the South, El Paso, the 3 over the higher seed 2 New Mexico, and it's a 2-0 El Paso lead. So 1 win away from a Lone Star El Paso South Finals. But of course, all these games in the South and the Midwest will start Game 3, and some of them Game 4. They'll start on Friday this weekend. In the Midwest, it's the Minnesota Wilderness. Lost the first game, won the next 2, so they have a 2-1 semifinal series lead. 1 win away for Minnesota. And it is the Wisconsin Wendigo with a 2-1 series lead over Fairbanks. So 1 more win for Minnesota and Wisconsin, and those 2 teams will be in the finals for the Midwest Division. Let's go to the other two brackets. We'll start with the Central. Austin, they lead 2-0. That's the 1 versus 4, so the Bruins picking up where they left off in the regular season. And it's a 1-1 tie between Bismarck and Aberdeen, so this one is guaranteed to go to Game 4 with the Bismarck Bobcats losing Game 1 and bouncing back winning Game 2. They will start their Game 3 and 4 Friday and Saturday, where it is guaranteed to go. In the East Division, of course, Maryland Black Bears, as we said, dominant. 2-0. They're 1 win away from where a lot of people, if not everyone, predicted them to be in the East Division Finals. And they might have to wait if the Generals can bounce back. If not, Rochester, a 2-0 series lead over the Gens, are 1 win away from returning to the East Finals and trying to go back-to-back Eastern Division champion. So those are your brackets. That's where everything is set. The East will start on Thursday. They'll start tomorrow for Maryland, Danbury, Rochester, and the Generals. All the other teams will start their Game 3 or Game 4 on Friday. So we'll bring it back into the headquarters now and discuss the Northeast Generals. All right, so the Northeast Generals, Friday, 4-0, loss in overtime. Saturday, 3-0 shutout loss, backs against the wall. Not the first time we mentioned. In the main Northeast series, in the play-in round, the best of 3, Generals lost the first game, and then they bounced back, won Game 2, dominant 8-2 victory, and ended up in a really close victory in Game 3 to advance into the semifinals. Now they're going to need to do that, plus one more. 3 games in a row, the Generals 4 seed against the 2 seed Rochester Jr Americans. However, talking to Braydon Hudtloff, there is no lack of belief or reasoning why they can't do it. They play better when the pressure's on for sure, and they have a lot of pressure on them right now. But Friday's game was the much more competitive game, much more closer game, where the Generals looked like the Generals. They started off this game getting pucks deep, one after another. The Rochester Jr Americans defense was continually having to pivot, turn around, fend for pucks along the back wall, taking physical plays from the Generals' forecheck, which is just we're accustomed to seeing in the better games for Northeast this season. They were forcing turnovers relentlessly on either blue line, but especially on the Junior Americans' blue line. This game felt like these two teams were absolutely neck and neck. No team led this game by more than 1 goal at any time. There was 3 lead changes throughout. Rochester led 1-0. They led 2-1. Then the Generals in the third period had a great start to the third period, picked up a 3-2 lead. It was tied late by Adam Giunta in the third. He finished with 3 points on the night. And then Logan Kipe, the defenseman, shot through a screen off a face-off, beat Will Mazanko for the overtime victory in a game where the Generals had the lead late. I don't want to say let it slip away because it was so close the whole time, but that was their game and their chance to take home ice advantage away from the Rochester Jr Americans, where now it's going to remain. If the Generals win out, they'll have to do it in Game 5 in Rochester. But, heartbreaking way to go down, but a game that also gave you a measuring stick that you are absolutely even with the second-ranked team in the East Division. So let's just take a look at the goal highlights, of course, first from Friday night's game.
For Schulte, now the Americans skate phone. A bumper pass for Giunta into the offensive end comes Dewberry. Dewberry challenges, knifes his way to the net. He scores! In the zone, fed to the slot between the circles. Hudtloff will toss one back for McKenna. McKenna toes the line, lets it fly, redirection, score! It went off of an American's stick. The nets. Rochester angles one. A bouncing puck is picked up by Shaw. Shaw racing through neutral. Shaw a lane to the net. Across. Stephenson scores! Around for Bartowski. Bartowski a near point per game player for the Northeast Generals this season. Hudtloff after it. He centers. They score. A blind pass. And it's power play. They've got still over 90 seconds to work with. Moyer into the zone, right wing side, clean entry, sipped it out in front, save made by Wade, it goes in. It bounced off of an American. Rochester ahead for Giunta with a head fake, charges by a man, 3-on-2 into the zone, left wing side for Shaw, Giunta scores! Off the tap, a clean draw win. Feathered back to the point. Kipe shoots! Scores!
All right, so yeah, there was the overtime hero goal. The last one there by Logan Kipe to give the Rochester Jr Americans that 1-0 series lead in a game that, you'll hear from Braydon Hudtloff coming up here in a little bit. The Generals thought that they would have a little bit of an advantage in game one because they had already played 3 really hard playoff games against the Maine Nordiques, 2 must-win games, and had their playoff footing, whereas Rochester, coming off of their first-round bye, basically hadn't played in 2 weeks. And that start of the game, the Generals had the start of the game, as we mentioned, relentless on the forecheck, really good at forcing turnovers. But, credit to Rochester for getting the early lead and then the comeback when the game was in the Generals' hands late in the third period. But maybe that letdown for the Gens kind of translated into Saturday night because now Rochester has their playoff experience and their legs under them. And on Saturday for the Generals, it kind of fell flat. They didn't have a lot of jam. They didn't have the same forecheck. Definitely weren't forcing the same amount of turnovers, weren't as physical. And the big part is that hard to really pick more than a few, if any, where they generated high danger scoring opportunities in that game. They seemed to be fighting the puck a lot. Transition was not as crisp as we're used to seeing it in the good games of the year for the Northeast Generals. And Florian Wade, they didn't test him enough. He made 30 out of 30 saves for his playoff shutout, but you can probably maybe count on one hand how many that you were like, Generals could have had a good chance to score there. 27 out of the 30 saves for Florian Wade just kind of seemed routine. And, again, Rochester boxed out well, good defensive structure, but, just because the start wasn't there for the Generals, and not that the game ever really got out of reach, it was 1-0 after the first, 2-0 after the second, very much plausible to come back in that game. The time just kind of expired off the board, and you really didn't see anything throughout 60 minutes that made it seem like the Generals were really in that game emotionally and effort-wise. It was, just tough pill to swallow on Friday that really translated into Saturday, and now they're in a 2-0 hole where they're going to have to find their game on Thursday, tomorrow, in the Canton Ice House, or else Rochester, if that's the same, it'll be a quick 3-game sweep, and Rochester will go to the finals. But it'll be a quick highlight package because there was only 3 goals. The game was close throughout the majority of it, but here are Saturday's goal highlights.
Chester, the youngster Ports turned it over. Hopefully the Americans can counter. Here is Ports on a 2-on-1. Ports left side. He scores! Clearly an in-game adjustment for Northeast. A 3-on-3 rush the other way. Bounce pass off the boards. Dewberry into the zone. Dewberry dangles in front. They score! They center, getting a stick on it, but the puck dribbles wide. Pitch worked ahead. Rochester with the empty net. Skating ahead with it. Bellinger. He shoots. He scores!
So there it is. Rochester 3-0, 30-save performance in a shutout for Florian Wade. Will Mazanko, we should mention, was brilliant. He stopped 32 of 34, keeping his team in it the whole entire way up until basically the empty net goal goes in by Lucas Bellinger. He was great. Just the offense wasn't able to provide any support in that game. And it happens, but obviously frustrating if it happens in game 2 in the semifinals, now to put you in a do-or-die situation for 3 straight games. Matthew Ports, first goal for the Rochester Jr Americans. It was his first career regular season or playoff goal. Keenan Dewberry, again, really nice play on the backdoor pass to Ryan Flaherty, who now has goals in both games. And then Lucas Bellinger, the empty netter, was his first of the postseason. But now the Northeast Generals, yes, they're going to come home to the Canton Ice House. They have all the belief in the world. And to talk about that belief, here is rookie forward who was leading the team in points throughout a lot of it, Braydon Hudtloff.
Back here on the Debrief now, very pleased and thankful to welcome in an incredible rookie season for Northeast Generals forward Braydon Hudtloff. Braydon, thanks so much for taking the time. How you doing over there?
I'm doing very well, Rory. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. Obviously the Generals, right? They're in a tough situation right now in the East Division semifinals against Rochester. Down 0-2 You know you need to win 3 games in a row to keep the season alive against a really tough opponent. But first, I kind of want you to walk us through those 2 games, Friday and Saturday. 4-3 overtime loss Friday, 3-0 loss on Saturday, and just how you kind of felt navigating those 120 minutes and how you thought the team was.
Yeah, I think on that first game Friday night, we played really hard. We gave them a good showing, came out fast. First game of the playoffs. We've had playoff experience this year. They didn't. We tried to take advantage of that, jump on them, and I think we did that really well. We unfortunately we gave them some light there in the third for them to come back and then pounce on us in overtime. But yeah, it just didn't end up going our way. It sucks, but we
Hmm.
swallow the pill. Go to the next game Saturday. That game was a lot different. We came out slow, and I think we didn't really show up till the third. And at that point, it's too late, right? So, at that point, we need to start getting on teams earlier, and in that first and second, come out fast, strong start. Everyone get engaged early, get a hit. That's what playoff hockey's about.
Yeah, and what kind of looked like for me on Friday, that forecheck and your ability to get the puck in and having the defenseman be turned around and put pressure on them. I
Right.
was like, man, if they keep this up, it was the first 10 minutes of the game. I'm like, it is going to wear on these D men. Do you feel that was maybe the biggest aspect that was missing from Saturday's game, or was it more just the energy and the start side of it, or was it the X's and O's and the way you need to be aggressive?
Kind of putting everything together there. Obviously, getting the puck behind their D and, getting a hit, that's our identity. That's how we play. And, when that's going good for us, you can tell it translates. We put the puck in the net, good things happen. So I think it's a lot of that. It's a lot of the energy as well. Energy wasn't as high. And I think plays like that where we go in and, hem the D, hem them in their zone, that creates energy. And that when we get energy there, we're a very successful team.
And even though it's down 2-0, you have to believe, and I'm sure you do, that you're right there with the Rochester Junior Americans. There isn't much separation between these two teams at all.
Yeah, no, we're not worried. We're fired up to play some games here at home. This group's not ready to be done. So we are fired up and we're gonna give them a good showing here.
Well, that was my next question is what is the belief? Because you had your backs up against the wall against Maine, another tough team. You had to win 2 straight games and you did it. Now you're going
Yep.
to get 2 at home to try and bring it back to Rochester. Has the belief, increased because of that series in Maine? Has it really ever, I'm assuming it hasn't taken a hit at all.
Yeah, we're kind of just calm and collected. Not really anything to worry about. We've beaten this team before, beaten them in our own rink. So I think we're just playing desperate hockey right now, and we do pretty good with that. As you saw versus Maine. So we're once again we're not ready to be done. This group is unbelievable, and every single guy is bought in. So we just trust each other.
Mhm.
Play for the brothers. We'll be successful.
Yeah, you'll need 3 against the Rochester Junior Americans, but I want to go all the way back to the regular season that you had just personally an incredible year in your rookie season in the league, almost a point per game, pretty much, leading the team and scoring for a lot of it as well. Was it better than you even anticipated at the start of the year, kind of how it ended for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I've been given a lot of opportunity playing the role I play, and with that being given, I think I've pretty much used that opportunity pretty well and kept producing for the team when we needed it. So very happy for that.
Yeah, I mean, you played a bunch of games, not a bunch, but maybe I think it was 7 games you got into, maybe oh no, 3 games last year,
Three.
right? Yeah,
Yep.
Blum was 7, you were 3.
Hmm.
Did those games kind of help you, like set up
Yeah,
for this year?
it's kind of getting your feet in the water a bit, feeling it out, get all those nerves out because playing your first junior hockey game. I kind of felt more calm going into this season, the first game of this season, whereas other guys, they could have said that, it was a lot of nerves, and that's how I felt at that beginning of the year. So it kind of alleviates the pressure.
What do you kind of give that example set and that experience to guys that are now coming in late this year, like Anthony Pomerico
Yeah.
or Kyle Moyer, the younger brother of Cody? just having the experience last year, transitioning to this year, and the amazing season you've had, can you pass that along to those guys? Have they talked to you about it?
Yeah, and it's something that you got to do as an older guy who's now been here for a full year. I was in their position, so it's kind of just leading them the right way. This group's amazing. Like everyone's very welcoming, so it's not a hard team to step into and get some games in. It's all about talking out there. Everyone's talking, everyone's in the same flow state. It's very easy to play with.
hmm What was maybe the hardest thing about this season? Playing basically every game, unless you were hurt or suspended, in the lineup. So, navigating that long, grueling season, what's been the difficult part as a rookie?
And yeah, I think the hardest part of it itself is just the longevity of it.
Mhm.
Like games every weekend, we're not really getting much of a rest, and it's kind of something that I haven't been used to. So it's a lot on the body, and I think there's a lot of stuff that is away from the ice that translates to what happens on the ice, and it's all about just being prepared, sleeping well. A lot of that off ice stuff, that's the hardest part, but it's very easy to retain, and I think once you kind of understand that, it all goes very well.
I mean, and now 5 playoff games. How are you feeling?
That's a different story. I mean, those games are rough,
Yeah.
Body's hurting.
And of course,
But
you still have that other year of eligibility. Actually, the top 6 Generals scorers all have returning eligibility. So it looks really, really set up for next year. But, kind
well,
of beyond that, there are a lot of eyes on you. What is, the main goal for you after junior?
yeah, I think it's just kind of going down to somewhere I can play. That's a big thing for me. Getting get a great education as well. That's those are the two things, and I want to find a place that'll fit like all my needs, that checks all my boxes, like a good social setting and
Mhm.
great academics, but having that help around, just being with like-minded people.
Yeah, 100%. Is there any chance you're getting into in-house announcing for the Washington Capitals like your dad?
No, I wish. I wish. He's got an incredible voice, and it's really a gift.
He certainly does.
I like to think sometimes that I have it myself, but
I'm sure you could step in there for a game.
I think I could too. Put me in the box, if I'm suspended or something.
Yeah, maybe next year, not in the playoffs. Don't get suspended.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Good
Awesome.
behavior.
So Rochester, you need 3 wins. Anything that you've seen from them, you mentioned that you guys you need to have the start you want. You need to have the energy that you had in game one. You got to get the pucks deep, get physical again, get that identity back. Anything you notice from Rochester that you're going to try and not take advantage of, but what you need to do again to combat what they're bringing.
Yeah, so they're a very fast team, very skilled team. They play really well in transition, and I think the biggest thing for us is having that F3 staying in front of their forwards
Mhm.
when they're coming to attack, so we're not giving up odd man rushes like that. Just having a good F3 because we know that they're attacking fast, so we need to be ready to, you know, take that.
Yeah, I mean another big thing on Friday was the turnovers, especially in the first half of the game. You guys were standing up both blue lines very well, and double-digit turnovers would be my guess throughout at least the first and second period. Thank you so much for doing this. Really appreciate it. You've had one heck of a year. Obviously, I hope it continues throughout this weekend and back into Rochester. But I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you, Roy. Thanks for the time.
All right, big thanks to Braydon Hudtloff for joining us on this week's debrief. I mean, played 3 games last year as a call-up, which you mentioned helps him a lot this year, but basically a point-per-game player as a rookie. The amount of ice time and responsibility he's been getting throughout the season, which is almost a full season. He was hurt once and suspended once. Those are the only games that he missed. So he was in the lineup every time he was able to be. And just, a 2006 birth year with eligibility to return next year is going to be one of the dominant forces in the league for the Northeast Generals. In fact, as we were talking with him, the top 6 scorers on the Generals in the regular season can all return next year. So a lot of hope and a lot of promise for next year's squad as well, including and featuring Braydon Hudtloff, who you just heard from. So big thanks to him. And now we'll wrap up the show Generals, though, we know when they play. Let's take a look at all the remaining games in the weekend coming up. So games 3 and games 4 across the North American Hockey League. As Thursday, mentioned it prior, will start for the East Division. Maryland is in Danbury. If Maryland wins, season's over. Danbury needs to win 3 in a row against the league's top team. Rochester is in Canton at the Canton Ice House. Obviously, if you're watching this tonight or tomorrow and you have the time, come down to the Canton Ice House. The Generals have to win, must-win game. And when they've been in that situation, it was some of the best hockey that you've seen for the Northeast Generals against the Maine Nordiques in the 8-2 win and the 3-1 win in that series clinching victory. So they're going to have to do it 3 times. Game 3 will be on Thursday. As you can see a little bit farther down, Game 4, if the Generals win tomorrow, will be on Friday. Both puck drops at 7 p.m. If they win both home games, then of course it's going back to Rochester on Sunday. It'll be a lot quicker. This series will wrap up before the end of this weekend. Elsewhere, you got a Game 4, Fairbanks, Wisconsin. All these are Friday games. Game 3, Austin, if they win, they're in against Watertown. Lone Star as well, 1 win away. Shreveport has to win out. Bismarck at Aberdeen, we mentioned. Their series is tied. 1-1. This is Game 3 in Aberdeen. El Paso's 1 win away, and Minnesota is 1 win away, as that is your upcoming games this weekend. So basically, by Friday, I think all of these series, except Bismarck and Aberdeen, can technically be over on Friday. There is scheduled games taking place if that team does stay alive on Saturday, but only one series is guaranteed to go into Saturday, and that is your upcoming games. And that, as we bring it back into the headquarters, is going to do it for us for another edition of the Debrief. We know what the Generals need to do. They lost the first 2 in Rochester, but they don't care. You heard from Braydon Hudtloff. The group is so tight, and they have all the belief in the world. They've been through it already. They went back-to-back against the Maine Nordiques, and now they're going to have to go back-to-back against the Rochester Jr Americans. If you can make it down to the Canton Ice House, come tomorrow, come Friday if that game as well happens, and the Generals pick up a win tomorrow, 7 p.m. puck drop. For everyone watching, thank you for watching. You have been informed. This is your Debrief.